that this session is being recorded until the very end. And now I'd like to introduce Dr. Kathleen Sarmiento with Riverside Unified School District, and her presentation is S.U.P.E.R Counseling Program.
Hi, good morning. So thank you for joining today. I will be going over a lot of the logistics and just general information on what it's like to implement a program like this at your school site. So first, I know that a lot of times we get to where we are today because of the journey that brought us to where we are. So a lot of times I really like reflecting on that journey that brought me to where I am first. So sometimes we do choose our path in life because of events that have really shaped us. And one event that I tend to share that has truly shaped me has brought me to, I feel, this path in life that has brought me to where I am today. So for me, I can still see this beautiful young African-American girl standing at the top of the highway before she abruptly jumped. And for a split second, she had a look as if she was looking back for a superhero to come and save her. And I stood there in disbelief and shock, and I had just witnessed this beautiful young girl take her life. And to this day, I do still wonder what her thoughts were. If she didn't feel like she was enough, if she didn't realize that until the very last minute, the ripple effect that she would have on others, even on myself. So I do know that there's a lot of pain that she must have been experiencing. And she sparked a fire in me that really ignited what my focus then would become throughout the past, I would say 20 years of my career. And I began focusing on ensuring healthy development for all youth and decreasing suicide attempts and deaths within the communities that I'd be working. So another thing that has more recently occurred, there was a surge in assessments for suicide in 2017-2018 school year. So I do work for Riverside Unified School District, and specifically at the site that I was assigned, I noticed that there was a large increase to where there was 187 suicide assessments. And I really wanted to do more than just put the fires out. A lot of times, myself and the entire school counseling team, we really were trying to figure out what to do and how to do it to get ahead of what's going on. So I know we needed to really focus and take a look at what's going on with our youth today and really evaluate the data and what the numbers are telling us. So that's a little bit about what I'll be talking about next. So with ensuring healthy development for all youth, I really wanted to look at what the data out there was telling us. And I found out that more than 6 million young people receive treatment for severe mental, emotional, or behavioral problems. And then suicide has been the second leading cause of death in 15 to 24-year-olds. Large increase of youth were self-reporting anxiety, depression, suicide, and homicidal ideation. And this is well before the COVID-19 pandemic. And one thing that I always share is when I'm typically doing a presentation on suicide prevention, I would usually have a bell or an alarm that would go off every 12 minutes, because that represents that every 12 minutes someone is dying by suicide. Unfortunately, that number is now gone down to 11 minutes. And after this pandemic, I know there's going to be a really large impact on what that's going to do and how it's going to influence how people react and their social interactions. And our youth are really struggling right now. Another statistic that I typically talk about is that bullying victims are between 2 and 9 times more likely to consider suicide than non-victims. And then bullying related to suicide can be connected to a lot of different types of bullying, which includes physical bullying, emotional bullying, cyberbullying, sexting, and circulating suggestive or nude photos or messages about a person, which I know that's something that our youth tend to unfortunately send pictures, and then there tends to be consequences. So there's a lot of that has been going on. even before virtual school. So suicide statistics, I wanted to kind of go over this so you guys kind of see in general, and then I'll bring it down to the population that I was specifically working with. So Black youth under 13 years are twice as likely to die by suicide. And when compared to sex, Black males, 5 to 11-year-olds are more likely to die by suicide compared to their white peers. The suicide death rates among our Black youth has been found to be increasing at a much faster rate than any other racial or ethnic group. 50% of transgender youth report at least one suicide attempt. And when you really think about these numbers, I want you to really think about how these are only numbers that are being reported. And we know it's much higher. And even in the LGBTQ plus group, they're 8.4 times more likely when it comes from an unaccepting home, or they have no or low levels of support. And suicide in youth has risen 56% in the last decade, and impulsive suicides have risen by 50%. So really looking at the data for Riverside County, this is an image from the Riverside County Public Health. The rates have increased from their 2015 report, and this is solely based on data that was reported and collected. And we're currently, I am a part of the Suicide Prevention Coalition. I'm a co-chair for that, and we're looking at different ways of making the data even more accurate so that we can really encapsulate what it really looks like. And so the numbers during our COVID pandemic can be even greater right now. So what if we could really address this large increase of students that are suffering in silence and wanting to kill themselves because they feel like there is no better option? So really looking at and defining what the problem is. Our societal norms are what hold the stigma regarding mental health in place. And these strong stigmas can keep people from either speaking up or speaking out about mental illness. So one of the problems is that we do live in a digital age world where our youth are not developing emotional intelligence in the sense that they need to really navigate our society. And thinking about our current times, we're all digital right now. And so we really have to, when we return eventually, think about how this has really impacted the development of our youth. And emerging into adulthood has begun to bring out more stress and pressure and a lot of anxiety. I know a lot of us are seeing anxiety spike in our youth right now. The American Foundation for Suicide Prevention has stated that 76% of young adults do turn to a peer in time of crises for support. And when you really think about that, that's a large number. And that's the first person they go to, 76%. So what are the tools or resources that they have where when you really think about it, we're not giving them the effective tools that they need to really hold and have these conversations. And our youth are wanting to help and support their friends, and they are sensing that they're having a hard time. And one thing that I want you to think about is they're reporting that, however, they do feel insecure and awkward and sometimes worried about how to speak about what someone's going on, what someone's experiencing, and whether these conversations will be helpful. I know that the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention has also stated that our youth who have experienced mental health challenges and crises have said that their friends being in a supportive role and caring way has been helpful. And it doesn't matter what they say or how they say it. So like I had stated previously, why aren't we giving them these tools and things that they need to have these tough conversations that they're having already? We know they're having these conversations. So why not teach them more effective conversations in order to really be able to do that beautiful handoff to an adult? And that's something that I really wanted to research and took some time and developed a program based on the research out there and data that I was able to collect. So the solution was a S.U.P.E.R counseling program, which is a peer-infused program with mental health training and peer counseling curriculum, which it's been aimed at decreasing suicide attempts and deaths, and as well as decreasing the stigma around mental illness within the education system that's currently developed as an innovation to really disrupt the social norms within the education system and create a culture of connectedness on campus. So the S.U.P.E.R was created as an innovative program that utilizes tools, knowledge, and the skills needed for our students to really be successful and be able to be there to help and support their peers in a more successful way. And the S.U.P.E.R counseling program has offered students someone they can relate to, a friend. They play a really critical role in supporting others and those on campus that are suffering in silence. So really looking at how to implement this. One main thing that we focused on before implementing the program is that discussion. Where is it that it would be really critical and crucial to have these students on our campus? So when you think about it, when students go into the guidance office on our site, they first interact with their TAs, the office TAs. And those are the kiddos that are the front line for these crises. So everything that comes in, they have to report to the students that are office TAs first. So that's where we wanted to make sure that that role was then seen as the first responders, in the sense of when something comes in, who is it that really sees it, and where are the kids that are seeing these kids coming in crises. So that's where we really focused on 10th and 11th graders applying, and then offering services to students 2 times a week with the office space available. So these kiddos are also housed with all the school counselors, the licensed mental health clinician, and the school psychologist. So they're in our hub, and that's where students go for support, and that's where they're able to also meet if it's a more minimal need that they have. So they're able to request services on the online form, which is screened. I'll talk about that a little later. And then they're also available for mediation services. So one thing that really look to do with this program as well is making the students' skill set so much greater. And I'll be able to talk about what the training is they get in a couple slides, but really being able to look at what are some alternative to discipline that we can offer. So one thing that these students are trained in is mediation, and they are trained in an evidence-based model. And with that, the assistant principal of discipline was able to fill out a form, and then the students that are having an altercation that prefer to have an alternative to the discipline record and are willing to work things out are then able to work it out with 2 students that are trained and have these skill sets. Another thing that they've been doing is the virtual reality meditation. So when we were on campus, they are able to do that in addition to other meditation techniques. We do use the Oculus goggles. We do have the safety measures in place for those as well when they're on their eyes. And the students are able to go to that visual place in order to do the meditation and come in when they're having those anxiety attacks when they're coming into the office. And I know that's something that might be very prevalent when we get back on campus as well. They do go to elementary school sites. Principals request for them to come and do skills training for elementary level students. They get field trips for workshops outside of the school site as well. And we really have been focusing on classroom presentations and presenting to their peers and really focusing on developing their emotional intelligence skills. So some main phases or activities of operation and key units of service for these will be the peer counseling and mental health training, which is evidence-based training and the number of students, the S.U.P.E.R meetings, which is the number of meetings pre and post tests, and then the virtual reality meditation. So the number of students utilizing that meditation and the different coping activities that are available for them on campus as well. So the training, the meat of it all. Let's break down some of the training a bit. So during the summer, the students are trained in a 2 weeks, I would say about between 50 and 60 hours of training. And this includes mental illness, signs and symptoms. They get certified in mandated reporting, suicide prevention skills, peer mediation, grief and loss, which is going to be a big one when we do return as well. I know that a lot of you are experiencing some of that with your students now and even staff. They are trained in trauma, racial trauma, confidentiality, bullying prevention, autonomic nervous system, social emotional learning. I can go on for a little while on a lot of the skill sets that they've received. Cognitive behavioral tools. So what I really want you guys to think about is most schools do have vocational programs for healthcare, JROTC, Explorers program, woodshop, auto body, but what is there for mental health? And this is really giving the students real world skills that they can use in any career. And they've been able to effectively enhance their communication skills, public speaking, active listening, and as well as giving them exposure to mental health, the mental health field, and what mental illness looks like. And it's something that they can and have used to apply to different scholarships, college applications, and jobs. I wanted to say that one other piece that we were able to do as well is include licensed mental health clinicians to be able to give them workshops every like once a month as well in addition. So that's something that also gives them valuable skill sets and ways of really effectively working with their peers. So let's see. So the Super Peer Counseling Program, it's an innovative program model that can be easily adapted and implemented at other high schools. My program can be implemented with trainings, and it has a manual that has been created for the students to be trained in, as well as the staff to be trained in, so that way it can be implemented at the site. And then I'm also looking at implementing this manual through an online content that's being developed, so that way the sites can have this program and have accessibility to the most recent content as it develops. So an example of this is the students currently are struggling with the coronavirus pandemic and racial trauma that we're experiencing in our society and on social media today. So one thing that I did is I did add pieces that do update and train the students on these materials that they need to learn as well, because it's something that not only they're dealing with, but their peers are as well. So looking at some of the pictures, some of the stuff that we were able to do before COVID, and I'll show you some of the things that we're doing now during this COVID pandemic as well. But addressing a wide range, we've been able to do these presentations, posters, social media that these students promote. It's really begun to reduce the stigma around mental illness and has encouraged students to seek out more help and support on campus. So it has very much so changed the culture of the campus that it has been on. And we've really worked on doing some of the assemblies, as you can see in the bottom right corner. That's the Bikers Against Child Abuse. They have chapters in every area, and just being able to partner with a lot of different community agencies and events to really put on assemblies, do different kindness activities, the meditation goggles, going to the school sites and really doing those different things that we've been able to implement, and it's been extremely powerful on campus. So looking at the pilot schools target population. So this program was piloted for 3 years. It is being implemented at 2 to 3 more sites in the workings right now. So looking at the student population, there's 2,000 students, 13 to 18 years old, and really defining what the demographics of the school site that this program was piloted. It had 82% that received free and reduced lunch, 80% Hispanic, 10% white, 4% African American, and 6% other. So the evaluation procedures for monitoring and processing outcomes. So one of my main strategies at this site has been to really implement this program and expand the number of students needing or wanting services on campus. So I know briefly in the beginning, it's discussed that there was 187 students at assessments. That's a lot within one school year. So that's from fall all the way through till the end of the school year. There was 187. What I did was I was able to evaluate the data, and the data has proven this strategy to be effective. And the number of youth that have been assessed for suicide has reduced significantly over the past 3 school years so far. So for fall of 2017, there was 94 assessments just in that fall period. And then looking at fall of 2018, there's 51. Then fall of 2019, there's 23. And then looking at this current fall, there's only been 10. And suicide assessments have continued to decrease significantly even already this semester as well. So services received by students on campus have increased. The supports they're getting has increased. And the number of lives that these kiddos have saved has been priceless. So that's one thing that I really want to make sure that you're aware of. And I can share a little bit about that at the end as well. So the research question that I asked, does the Super-Peer Counselors program decrease the number of suicide attempts and increase campus connectedness? And the data obviously shows that it has had a large impact. And looking at the data collected, improved mental and physical health, increase adaptive coping skills, and increase in satisfaction with the program. And then looking at, there was 8 to 10 students that were trained, a licensed mental health clinician. There was also a support person as well. So there's always usually 2 people that are in charge of the program, and the school counselors as well are a part of making sure that the program runs, and it's been so significantly helpful. We're able to partner with a lot of community agencies for support and funding, and then the number of suicide assessments has decreased. So having these super-peer counselors available has relieved the workload significantly for administrative staff, school counselors, school psychologists, licensed clinicians, and even teachers, because typically where the emotional outbursts occur or where it's noticed initially is in the classroom. So it's been able to really give them their primary responsibilities back, and not so much to where it's been impacting the lessons in the classroom. And even virtually now, it's easy for them to be able to, like, hey, you know, I noticed this kiddo, something's going on. So staff at the site has continued to refer students to the super-peer counselors, and the super-peer counselors have been meeting with students who fill out the form, they're screened, and then if it's not needed for that higher level of care, then they're able to evaluate that, and they're able to do that handoff for the students that are in a heightened emotional state as well, if there's something outside of their scope. So they are definitely trained and given the supports that they need. Assessments tools, I'll talk about this briefly. So students request to meet with a super-peer through a super-peer questionnaire. Then these questionnaires are also available for the super-peer counseling manual. Not all psychometric work has been done. However, this is a benchmark that can be compared to, and these scales do need more psychometric work to assess the reliability and validity of these scales. But it is something that is a baseline that we've been able to put together, and it has shown a lot of significant improvement, and the data has been extremely helpful. So resources available during COVID-19. So the next 2 slides, I'll be talking about what it looks like right now virtually. So since COVID-19, we do know that it's a time that our students do need us the most. So our students have been impacted in several ways. So we have implemented alternative opportunities and options for students to be able to reach out when they're overwhelmed right now. So as you can see right here, these are pictures of our current super-peer counselors for the 2020-2021 school year. They have been doing a lot. So virtual webinars, some of the webinars they've been doing, they were doing it monthly all last semester, and this year we've kind of changed what we're doing a little bit, and I'll explain that. We've been doing presentations, I would say, for staff, students, and families that's been going out to the community. And the topics have been stress and anxiety, human trafficking, racial trauma, toxic relationships, empathy, and so forth. And they've also worked on and developed social emotional learning videos that have been tailored towards elementary level. And these have been sent out to all school sites in the district that we work in. And they have been able to develop and change the virtual mental health week to something where they are able to offer daily webinars around mental illness or mental health. We've been able to spotlight the agencies in the community with resources, and then special guests and videos on Instagram. They do have an Instagram page, and I'll show you that at the end. So it's something that they've been able to change. Typically what we would do is it would be on campus, the resources would be there, and we would also work towards getting all of the different clubs on campus to do something, an activity for that week, for the mental health week. but now we're doing it virtually. So we're still engaging the campus on being a part of what we're doing with regards to social, emotional, and mental health. And it's been really awesome to see different programs do different things around mental health, and then we're able to spotlight that as well. So they also created a virtual calm room, and that's to offer a safe space for students to utilize tools such as meditation, yoga, apps, creating music, stress reduction techniques, and a lot more. And it's also for the staff as well, that if they are interested in looking at that, I'll give you the link at the end. So something else that they're doing virtual right now. This is something current, and it's been really amazing. So Kindness Week is coming up. So what we've really been able to do is focus on creating kindness kits. As you can see on the left-hand side, we've created kindness kit for the middle schoolers that are in 8th grade, and they're going to be going into 9th grade soon. So there's a lot of students struggling. So our main focus was to make up to 40 different kindness kits for these students. So we have worked with reaching out to local agencies, and they've sponsored a lot. As you can see, the students did create postcards as well with notes to all of the students that these will be going into. They're all individualized and have some type of motivation and encouragement from going from the 8th to 9th grade, especially with struggling with what's going on virtually right now. And then we've also been able to create these packages with gear from the high school that they are going to be going to, and then really focus on different activities that they can have inside of that kindness kit with the local agencies and colleges that we work with. And then something else that we've been recently doing is once a week, we do hold during the lunch break a teleparty. So it's a Netflix teleparty, and students are able to go and really focus on meditating. And it's been something that's been really awesome. There's been a lot of students attending, and it's giving them a space to practice something. So if you look on Netflix, there's the series of the Headspace Guide to Meditation. And what it is it's 8 episodes, and they're 20 minutes long. So from 12 to 12:30, we're offering a teleparty, and we send out the link to the students, and they're able to join and really focus. It's a G-rated show. It's been really successful, and it's been really neat to see these kids really enjoy that. And so we've been getting a lot of students responding that they're really grateful that that's something that these kiddos are doing with them. So I wanted to talk about the pilot location. So the pilot location was at Ramona High School. So first, shout out to Mr. Cisneros, the principal at Ramona High School in Riverside, and he's been allowing this program to be piloted to collect data and really show an impact the past 3 school years. And I'm really fortunate to be able to have the opportunity to expand this program at other sites within the district. And so the timeline that I've given myself for this program is making sure that the material is online in spring. We've done the training. All the training for this school year has been online as well. So summer training for the supers has been online. It's been transferred to the online model. It's been starting the process of being implemented at other local high schools within Riverside County. And then we're really looking at implementing it at other sites now. Everything's being developed, and it's really looking promising for it to go out to a lot of different sites right now. And then developing that online training module. So in order to help with assisting and giving those certifications for students when they're doing these online modules as well. And then another piece is we're working on adding CEUs for staff that are trained in it, in addition to students being able to be certified in this training as well. So that's in the works right now. And so starting next year, please don't forget to visit our website where you can find the details to register for our S.U.P.E.R training if you're interested in implementing it at your site. So that'll be at the end. So some potential challenges. This is something that I know a lot of people have questions about, so I just kind of wanted to talk about some of these. So having a lot of people not either interested in the program, or the students not being willing to miss class. Those are some challenges. So what have we been able to do? A lot of what we've been able to do with that is we do offer and have these students, like I said, they're office TAs. So really having them coded as a super peer, and they're trained, and they do have a special badge, and they're able to, we're able to get enough students to where we offer the services as a guidance TA in the morning, so before school, during lunchtime, and after school. And that's really helped with students requesting, you know, hey, I want to come and meet with a student, but I don't want to miss class, or I have a test. When's the time that I can come? So it is available for them. And then limitations with buy-in from students or staff, really we're working with students and having these peers go into the classrooms and do trainings really helps break that barrier and then gives exposure on campus. Suicide attempts, that is going to happen. So being aware that these students are certified in suicide prevention skills, and really having the idea and really teaching other staff or even people working with students on campus, making them aware that they are getting that training. They do have to be 16 to be able to certify for suicide prevention training and go from there. So it's been really successful in making others know that it is something that it is looked at. And there's a lot of stigma and societal norms around mental illness and other students like not being in a place to really talk to anybody. So really focusing on, we were able to create these, I guess you say, promotions across campus about mental health and supports and what the students are able to do. And a lot of that has been really impactful. And then also keeping the fidelity of the model of what this program is and the confidentiality around it. So these students are trained in confidentiality, of course, and then having the buy-in from the parent. So in the program manual, there is trainings for the students on the confidentiality, and you do have to get the parent buy-in, and the parent has to be aware that their student is engaging in conversations with their peer on campus, and then making sure that weekly these students are meeting and offered that 30 minutes to an hour to really just sit and kind of even go over some of the things that they're talking to their peers about. And so all of the data and everything that's collected, the forms that are filled out, the students fill out a form as well after every time they meet with a student. So really making sure that all of that goes to one central hub and that there's a central place for that to go. And that's something that the program does implement as well. So alternative strategies that I kind of discussed a little bit, support from staff, making sure that you do have that buy-in, and also having the students even just advocating for themselves and then showing their skill sets of what they've learned and doing those classroom presentations, having those booths on campus where they do showcase their skill sets. We were able to do right before the pandemic, and where we had to all stay home, we had a self-care fair for kids on campus, and it was amazing, where they created these booths and really just kind of were there on campus to showcase their skill sets and what they're able to learn and talk to their peers. And it was so beautifully done, and it was really neat. So having also trainings, making sure that they're up to date on the trainings, consultations where they're meeting with the staff that's in charge, and then keeping that confidential training. All right, so key partnerships during COVID-19. So this program has shown a lot of community buy-in. And as a result, we've been able to successfully partner with many organizations that have become important stakeholders. Feel free to go to our website to explore that a little bit more as well. But these are the key ones during COVID-19. So local college, CBU, has been able to help with a lot of the stuff that we're doing to support the students as well. We are keeping them as mentors for the peers. The Anti-Bullying Institute does a lot of the support with regards to financial and just in general to make sure these kids have alternatives and supports on campus as well. And then Riverside University Health System for a lot of the support with different resources out there, and then Riverside County for some of the supports with regards to training as well. So in summary, data has shown that the S.U.P.E.R counseling program has been effective and has made a large impact the last 3 school years. So this program has impacted a lot in the sense of they have met with a lot of students on campus, and there's been a lot of life saved. So right here is typically when I like to give some of the examples that I've experienced as well. But the program has been a great cost-effective program. We have literally the most amount that we've spent is getting the students t-shirts through the school campus. They have received a lot of awards. So some of the awards that they've received are the Hero Awards. They've received Peer Mediator of the Year Award. And then for this program, I have been able to receive the Counselor of the Year Award through Riverside County because it's made such a large impact on students. So some of the examples that I would like to give of the students that have been impacted by this is one thing that one of my students this last school year, his name is Ruben, and Ruben was trained and he has done fantastic. Well, he did notice a student on campus that was sitting by himself and a lot of people were just walking past this kiddo. And so Ruben stated that if he wasn't as trained as he was, or to notice the signs of what a student struggling was like, or even what to pick up on with regards to the training that he received, he went and sat next to this kiddo because he noticed that he was crying and a lot of people just kept walking past him. And so he sat and he was able to meet with him and know that there was something going on and the student was being bullied. So Ruben did take it upon himself to then meet with the student, talk about what was going on, and then also help him with what was going on with regards to bullying. And so this happened on a Friday, and then on that Monday we returned. Ruben was brought up to the office because that kiddo that he did help wanted to make sure that Ruben knew that he made such a large impact on his life because that kid already had laid out a plan of what he was going to do to die by suicide that day. And he wanted to make sure Ruben knew that if it wasn't for Ruben, he probably would have already been dead. I have so many cases where kids have experienced that and have gone through that. And if it wasn't for these kids being trained or even being there as an option to meet with them where they feel comfortable talking to a peer, that something bad could have possibly happened. So for that, I really want to make sure that others know that this program has made a large impact. And if these kids are having these conversations already, we should be giving them these skill sets that they need to make sure that they're there. And that way that we can reach more than what we are already. So just recapping on the tragedy that I witnessed, it did leave a large imprint on my life. And however, it's allowed me to focus on creating these everyday heroes within our youth. And I'm very honored and proud to really be able to work with such untold superheroes. And I'm continuing to fight this silent battle with the S.U.P.E.R counselors when it comes to mental illness. And are you willing to fight with us, is what I would ask. And I'm really proud of what this program has done and what it's going to be doing in the near future as well. So with that, I just wanted to say thank you. And if you are interested in following these kiddos on social media, they do have Instagram, and it's called Ramona Kindness. We do have our website. Sign up for our email list. It's superpeercounseling.com. We do have the bit.ly for our virtual comm room as well, if you want to check that out. And we have a lot of resources and things to explore on our website. And I really invite you to check that out and be a part of it. And I really hope, if anything, you're able to take something from this presentation and really learn that there are things out there that can really help our school sites, especially when we come back from everything that's going on right now. I think really giving kids something to have to be able to help and help their peers is also something that can be done in a greater sense, because we're going to need as much ammunition and support as possible to really help and have an impact on these students. So I look forward to hearing from you guys as well. And that's what I got.
Thank you so much, Dr. Sarmiento. Does anyone have any questions while we're still here? Any comments? I'm going to go ahead and leave a link. We're asking everyone a survey to fill out before you leave. But if you have any questions, I'm going to leave the room open for at least another 5 minutes. So if you have any questions or comments, I'll go ahead and stay here and leave the room open.
I
Thank you
have
for
a
coming,
question.
Michelle.
I'm a middle school counselor, and I wanted to know if this is something that, I know you had mentioned the suicide training is 16 and up, but do you think that there's parts of this program that can be implemented at middle school?
Yes, definitely. So that's something after after this program is more like ready to launch and be implemented at other sites as well. The next step would be looking at altering it towards middle school, and then from that, just creating like these, I would say, different criteria and training material for elementary as well. So obviously you wouldn't have an elementary kiddo doing these in-depth conversations. So just really gearing it towards age appropriate. So for right now, it's mostly high school, and then slowly transitioning to middle, and then elementary from there.
Have you had any students that like, or maybe earned credit or something like that for training, or like it being a class or something like that?
Yes. So what they're able to do is they're able to get volunteer hours for the training and everything that they're doing. And then it is a program code that they have now in Riverside Unified School District for a super peer counselor. And so they're program coded as a super peer counselor. And then on top of that, they everything they do get signed off as volunteer hours for when they're applying to colleges and schools and stuff.
Oh, that's great. Okay.
Do we have any more questions for Dr. Sarmiento before we go? Okay, well, I want to thank Dr. Sarmiento again. It was a very, very beautiful presentation. I want to thank everyone else for spending the last 45 minutes with us. We hope to
Thank
see
you
you
guys
again
so
next
much.
year.